Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is Yatagarasu Attack on Cataclysm. This is $14.99, came out on the Steam store in its official release today. Now, it is a fighting game that came out of early access, and it was kickstarted. It is a fighting game in the style of the old, what I want to say, the old Neo Geo arcade machines. I get a sort of a King of Fighters vibe from it more than anything else, more than any other franchise, although it's got its own relatively unique style. Now you see your ninjas, you see your sort of, zoning characters and things like that. I will start this sort of let's try out by saying that I'm not exactly the greatest of fighting players. I'm not going to get into frames. I'm not going to get into, sort of the intricacies of fighting, mechanics and things like that. But I know enough to talk about it a tiny bit, but just don't expect, top level commentary here. Now, this is an interesting case where I think it came out of early access a little bit too soon because there's a missing polish around the edges, unfortunately. And I want to show you exactly by just looking at the menu screen here early on, which I should be changing right about now. There we go. And you'll notice that there are two arcade modes. Nope, that's one of them is a story mode, one of them is an arcade mode. It's little things like that that sort of bother me in this game where it's obvious that they could have taken a little bit more time to polish those elements up, and I do feel like they missed out on an opportunity there. Now, in terms of the fighting mechanics, I think they're reasonable, and there's a lot of different options. You get your arcade versus training, network play. I'll get into some of those elements of it. But we're going to go right into a fight here. I am the guy here in question. You see that there's reasonable combos. One of the things I do like about the game is controls. The controls feel fluid. It feels like it's reacting to me in reasonable ways. Now, unlike most fighting games, most of the fighting games nowadays have a low, medium, and high in terms of sort of your kicks. Low power, medium power, high power, high power, low, medium, and high punch. But here it's only low and high. In terms of power, and that does change things up a little bit. Now, you do have a parry system as well, which you have a low and high for parry, which can sort of block attacks more than just the block. It can actually set up combos a little bit, and I'm getting my butt beat there. You'll see those little lights next to my character, that light blue that was showing up. That was me trying to parry, and parrying can really suit into a countermeasure in terms of, going right after your enemy. Now, what I've liked about the game is that there seems to be good balance here between characters. I do notice that rushdown characters, for me, I have an easier time to deal with rushdown characters in terms of playing as them. But I was able to get into other characters too, like the sort of grapple-based characters. Now you notice that there was that weird guy's head there. One of the things that this game has differently is a commentator. You can choose your commentator, and he can actually commentate during the match. I like the addition of it, and they will actually say some reasonable things at times, like if you're, you miss a throw, or if you, get into like a combo, like 11, 12 hit combo, it'll say keep up the momentum and things like that. There are certain characters that do that a lot better than others, in my opinion. But overall, I do like it. It will get to a point where certain times it will repeat the same lines, and that's annoying, especially when one of the characters keep on saying "excuse me, princess," from the old Wanda Gamelon days. Back to the ground. Now, one thing I will say is that what I've noticed about this game is that there's a very big emphasis on ground combat, which is a little bit weird for me because I'm usually a more aerial player. Usually that comes back to bite me in certain elements, but I'm more of an aerial player more than anything else. I like starting combos from the air and, moving to the ground. But this one is definitely more ground-based from what I see. Going up does have its real negative effects from what I see. And I think I like that a little bit. It's more so like you're risking yourself. However, it's not too big of a risk if that makes any sense to you guys. There's reasons to go aerial, but going aerial for no good reason will get you punished, and get you punished a lot in this game, from what I've seen. Again, I am not a fighting expert. I've only played about 3 or 4 hours of this game, so keep that in mind. I'm going to play as Hanzo here. I wanted to show you guys a couple different characters. I like the style and the art style. I like the pixel art style. I love these, especially in the 2D fighting game genre. I do think the graphics and sort of the simple nature of a 2D fighter makes a lot more sense. I actually got a little bit annoyed with sort of Ultra Street Fighter 4's 3D models. I felt it almost was too complicated. I know that doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense, but I think it was just too much detail. I actually prefer the sort of 2D art style more than anything else in games like this. Also, the AI can be a little bit strange at times. It can do some strange things. Like that pose that they were doing there is a specific setup for the combo for this character in particular. You have to hold down and go up again, but sometimes they sort of telegraph their attacks a little bit too much. Now, one thing I will say is that in terms of the combat, it does feel great, but there are elements missing from it. In particular, like there are little elements, again, like I saw on the title screen. When a character goes dizzy, you'll hear that iconic sort of dizzy sound that you would hear from Street Fighter, sort of like the birds rolling around the head, but there's no visual indicator, which again sort of sucks. Now, once they get back up when they're dizzy, they will sort of do that sort of little dizzy dance, which indicates, yeah, they're dizzy, but it's more so like the little element of the, birds across the head that you would see in Street Fighter, for example, that sort of sold it. And I feel like, again, the polish in this game really sort of hurts in the long run because of things like that. That would make a lot of sense to implement. Just the simple implementation of that could have gone a long way, but instead, those little tools there are not, there, unfortunately. One thing I also don't like is the fact that for the controller, you can use a fight stick and you can use a controller. I also noticed on my Xbox controller that I couldn't map the right trigger and left triggers. I hate bumpers. I hate the bumpers on the left and right in terms of the Xbox controller. They don't feel natural to my hands, but I had to use them in this case because the left and right triggers were not bindable, which annoys me because, again, even though they've taken out 2 button combinations and like the sort of middle high or a medium punch and medium kick in this game, I really would like to use the triggers instead of the bumpers. And those are my parries, so, makes a huge difference. Now, you see he's repeating a couple things, the 2-step and things like that. Footsie's your step, can he pull it off, blah, blah, blah. I do like the commentary when it does work, and there are certain times that it does work in terms of this gameplay. I do like the footsies, and it does seem to always mostly correspond to what's happening on screen, which is nice. Now, one thing I also do like about this game is that I feel like there's an emphasis on offense. One of the things I really had gotten annoyed by Ultra Street Fighter 4 is that there was so much emphasis on defense in my mind that people who were more defensive had a huge advantage over players who were, offensive in nature, which, playing defensively, I play defensively at times too, but there was definitely a benefit to play a lot more defensively in Ultra Street Fighter 4. Now, in Street Fighter 5, from my understanding, they're going to be changing that, but this game, I felt like, yeah, you had the parry system, but there was definitely reasons for you to be aggressive with the right characters. And again, that to me makes a huge difference because I'm actually a rushdown character, which is maybe surprising to you all. I'm usually a strategic player. I'm not a player that gets up and close and personal in games like, RTSs and things like that. But in fighting games, I'm completely different. I'm very much of a rushdown character in terms of a sort of a rhythm to combat. As you saw there, getting in behind my opponent, sort of setting up a combo, going right at him at that point. Character variety is strong in this game. There's definitely a lot of different characters that have reasonable movesets. The movesets are simple. But the simplicity here does work in one sense. The simplicity is definitely keeps the moveset down, but it makes you really appreciate all your moves in your arsenal. Like that throw there, going right at them and, just sort of, closing area on the screen. The little, chops and the little, sort of chips at their defense. You really appreciate everything when it comes down to it. And I think sometimes the movesets in like games like, Street Fighter 4 can be overcomplicated because you have so many moves. And yeah, that can let for complicated combos and things like that. But there's a certain point where it's just like, it feels like it's too much almost. And I feel like that scaling it back can make the game a little bit more simple, but better in the long run. Now, the thing I do like about that is that in this game, it felt like a lot easier to use a character like this. This character is sort of a Zangief character. You have the circle throws that you see in games like this, which in this game actually worked for me. I usually have problems with characters like Zangief because I can't seem to get the combo right. I think the controls allowed for a little bit more simplicity here, and that I appreciated. I will say, though, one of the things I saw about the Destructoid review on this was that it was simple to get into gameplay. It teaches you a lot. That's wrong. That's completely wrong. The thing is that like you see at times I do some like focus attacks, these yellow, where my character glows yellow, for example. It doesn't teach you anything about that. The training mode just sort of, okay, you can experiment with things. It doesn't even teach you much about the parry system. And I think that's, I think games should really give you some idea of especially their unique mechanics. Like this parry system is definitely something unique to this game with the sort of high and low portion. And I feel like this game did a horrible job of teaching that. Okay, she's dizzy here. You see there that, she's dizzy, but there's no regular, birds around the head portion. The music is all right. It's not that great. Man, that throw should have totally connected. But the animation style, I do like the animation style. It's nothing special. It's nothing special for the genre, but it definitely does work, and it feels like your character definitely is responding to you in time, and that the quality of the animation goes with the fighting in question. Overall, it's a good game. It's a good fighting game. The question is whether or not it's right for you. Now, the netcode on this is pretty good, and from what I've seen, and you should take that into account. Overall, I can't recommend it over a game like Skullgirls, for example, but in the end, I think it's worth your time if you are a fighting game person, and in particular, a fighting game person that appreciates some of the little details of fighting games more than anything else. All right, this is Dragnix signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Again, I'll leave the description below. Upvote, downvote, whatever you guys want to do with it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to see more of it, you may want to hit that subscribe button on the left-hand side. If you like this video and want to see more of this content, take a look at this video on the left-hand side as well. And if you missed my last video, take a look at the right-hand side. Once again, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.